The lottery code words for the California Lottery Mega Millions lottery drawing on Friday, November 18th, 2011 are predetermined, joyous, plans, tuxedo, bands, chopsticks, Perseus. And the one and only field consciousness event for this particular weekend was Twilight Breaking Dawn Part 1, which once again asks what is probably the most pressing issue of our modern age. Can't vampires and werewolves just get along? And this is really interesting though, because we've got some rather striking Ouija board effects here that I need to acknowledge. And I should take note of the fact that I did not actually watch Breaking Dawn Part 1 on November the 18th, at the time that the lottery drawing for the Mega Millions took place. I actually went to see Breaking Dawn Part 1 on Saturday, November the 19th, so presumably this would be a case of retro PK, even though the drawing took place 24 hours prior to when I saw Breaking Dawn. It seems to have influenced the results. The emphasis in the trailers is primarily on the wedding of Edward and Bella, and it's funny that the code words that come up seem to be, to a high degree, influenced by the wedding component of the movie. There's certainly more to the movie than just the wedding, but for some reason it seems to me that the code words, we're looking at least 5 of the code words that we're looking at here were clearly influenced by the wedding, the preparations for the wedding. Now, the other 2 code words that seem totally out of place, chopsticks and Perseus, maybe not so much, because in the case of chopsticks, there was a scene early on in the movie where we see Bella actually eating some Chinese food out of a cardboard carton with chopsticks, and I recall at the time that I saw this thinking, oh, that's kind of odd. I mean, you don't normally see non-Chinese people eating with chopsticks, even if they're eating Chinese food. I mean, most people I know who would eat Chinese food would eat with a fork or spoon, not with chopsticks, but I guess that's just my peculiarity. But it did seem kind of like an odd thing, and as I've noted in the past, if you see something that seems odd or surprising in some way, it can have a exaggerated influence on the lottery code word results in terms of a Ouija board effect. And then Perseus, of course, seems totally out of place here, and yet maybe not, because prior to the screening of Twilight Breaking Dawn Part 1, they showed movie trailers in the theater that I went to, and among the various trailers for upcoming features was one for a movie called Man on a Ledge, or Man on the Ledge, something like that, and the star of the movie was Sam Worthington, whom, among his various roles, has played the character Perseus in Clash of the Titans, and I believe they are actually making a sequel to Clash of the Titans in which Sam Worthington will once again play Perseus. So that's possibly why the code word Perseus came up. It's, of course, a situation where you would say, yeah, but what's that got to do with Twilight Breaking Dawn? And of course, it has nothing to do with Twilight Breaking Dawn, and it doesn't really need to have anything to do with Twilight Breaking Dawn. It's just a question of what goes together, what word that has some influence on the field consciousness at the moment that the lottery numbers are being drawn, and also goes together with the other words that are clearly much more pertinent to the whole Twilight Breaking Dawn scenario. In this case, predetermined joyous plans. We see scenes in Breaking Dawn where Bella and Alice are sort of debating what the wedding plan should be, and we have bands here, which is the infamous wedding invitation that sends poor Jacob into a frenzy when he receives his invite. And then the other striking word is tuxedo, and I am certainly no expert on style and fashion, so when I see a guy wearing some kind of a formal outfit with the bow tie, I tend to think of it as a tuxedo, although technically it may not be actually a tuxedo that we hear with Edward and Bella's daddy, but I would say it's close enough for my purposes. I would just call them wearing tuxedos. Probably not a coincidence that tuxedo came up there when we've got these 2 main characters wearing formal wear that looks to me like tuxedos for Bella's wedding. And so there you have it. Predetermined joyous plans, tuxedo bands, chopsticks, Perseus. And let's go ahead and entangle these with the trailers for Breaking Dawn.
Predetermined joyous plans, tuxedo bands, chopsticks, Perseus. Predetermined joyous plans, tuxedo bands, chopsticks, Perseus. predetermined, joyous plans, tuxedo, 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 bands, chopsticks,
time with you
Perseus.
will be long enough.
Predetermined, joyous plans, tuxedo, bands, chopsticks, Perseus. 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 Predetermined, joyous plans, tuxedo, bands, chopsticks,
Never.
Perseus. Predetermined,
I, Edward Cullen,
joyous plans,
take you, Bella Swan,
tuxedo,
For better or for
bands,
worse.
chopsticks,
to love,
Perseus.
To cherish.
Predetermined,
As long as we both shall
joyous plans, tuxedo,
live. This is all I remember
bands,
you.
chopsticks,
heartbeat.
Perseus.
Think I'd be used to telling you goodbye.
Predetermined, joyous plans, tuxedo, bands, chopsticks, Perseus. Predetermined, joyous plans, tuxedo,
Last night
bands,
was the best night of my existence.
chopsticks, Perseus. Predetermined, joyous plans, tuxedo, bands, chopsticks, Perseus. Predetermined,
Fetus isn't compatible
joyous
with your body. It's too strong and
plans,
fast growing. It's crushing
tuxedo,
you from the inside out.
bands,
Your heart will give out before you can
chopsticks,
deliver.
Perseus.
You did this.
I can't see Bella's future
Predetermined,
anymore.
joyous
You don't know what they've read. We have to
plans,
protect the tribe before it's too
tuxedo,
late.
bands,
You're the enemy now. Sam
Chopsticks.
won't hesitate. You will be
Perseus.
slaughtered.
Predetermined,
By the hour. I'm the one who
joyous
You have to accept what is.
You've given me no choice.
tuxedo, bands,
Get ready. They're coming for Bella.
chopsticks,
They're not gonna touch her.
Perseus.
If you kill her, you kill me.
Predetermined, joyous plans, tuxedo, bands, chopsticks, Perseus. Predetermined, joyous plans, tuxedo, bands, chopsticks, Perseus.
So, in closing, I would like to note that although we've got some what I would regard as fairly obvious Ouija board effects going on here, the big question, of course, is, did I have any precognitive dream that predicted any of these code words? And sadly, disturbingly, the answer is no, I didn't. Which raises a big question as to why is it that my subconscious mind is apparently able to manipulate the lottery results to make certain code words that fit the topic of attention to come up, and yet it doesn't warn me in advance, usually, what the words are going to be. And that is, of course, the big question. Of course, the other question is, why is it that sometimes it does warn me in advance what the code words will be? On those occasions when it does seem to be predicting code words, is that just Coincidence? Random chance? Probably not, and yet there is no absolute certainty that even when I predict a particular combination, that these words will actually come up. I have an interesting result next week where I was expecting a certain combination to come up, and it actually came pretty close to coming up, and yet the words that came up were not the words that I was expecting to come up. So it was like it was trying to make the words come up, it was trying to make the numbers for those words that I was expecting to come up, and yet while some of the numbers came up, the words that I was expecting did not come up. Not even close. It's kind of a bizarre situation, but it suggests something about what's really going on here, where you're expecting a result, and your expectations produce a result that is perhaps close to what you're expecting, similar to what you're expecting, but not necessarily exactly what you were expecting, which addresses the whole issue of, is the future really out there, inevitable, or are you really receiving messages from the future, or is it simply your expectations of the future and a self-fulfilling kind of prophecy issue? I think the actual answer is much more complicated than either of those alternatives. It's a feedback loop of some sort, and you just have to practice to get your expectations to meet your actual abilities. When a baseball pitcher goes out to the mound every time he plays a ball game, he's certainly expecting or hoping to pitch a perfect no-hitter. Doesn't usually happen, but every once in a while it does happen. So you would have to say that his expectations, when it does result in a no-hitter, have been fulfilled. If he went out there without the expectation of pitching a no-hitter, would he ever pitch a no-hitter without the expectation of pitching a no-hitter? You have to have that sense of certainty and expectation in order to achieve your objective.
Predetermined. Joyous plans. Tuxedo, bands, chopsticks, Perseus.